RWT, Real World Trade. This is something that has plagued the RuneScape community since nearly its inception. As of today, these operations have never been more sophisticated. I know personally of an individual seller that's doing more than $20,000 a month, but that's just one individual. There's websites that are run by teams of people, and if I had to guess, they're doing at least $1 million a year in profit. For lack of a better word, these secondary markets were not always so complex. And while it's easy to get great insight into how they operate today, what's not easy to get insight into is how they operated in the earlier era. But today that changes, at least for the period between 2005 and 2012. I interviewed somebody who was running a gold selling operation during that time period, and through their story we get some great insight into how real world trade looked back then. This is of particular interest because in 2008, real-world trade and the negative consequences that come along with it got so bad Jagex felt they had no other option but to completely remove free trade from the game. This was a huge blow to the player base and many attribute it as the worst update to have ever occurred. And as you'll come to see, the gold sellers got around it. It didn't solve the problem, and in fact, one might even say it made it worse. I think you're going to really enjoy this one. We have a lot to talk about, so buckle up. But quickly, the best thing you can do for me is drop a like on this video and consider subscribing if you've been around for a while. But also, if you want to get yourself a beautiful, heavy, pressure cast resin statue to bring RuneScape into your physical world, we finally have some things in stock. There's Zook, Bob the Cat, and Chinchampas all on the website right now. And if you've been around for a while, you know this is a small business my girlfriend and I are running. I'm literally the person that responds to any inquiries you might have on the contact page. So if you get one, you are directly supporting me being able to make more of these videos. And you're getting yourself something nice at the same time. You can check them out at the link in the description, and let's get on with the video. So the person I interviewed is Alex Hager. I get to say his name because he's out of the RuneScape scene and now he's public in the fitness scene. But when he was a teenager, he was running the website OSRSBeatz.com. And here's a little teaser of the setup he was using to operate that. You can see the amount of computers and monitors that he had. We're going to talk about that more in depth, but first, let's get a little history of how he first started playing RuneScape and what led him into this gold selling operation.
So I started playing when I was like 5 because my brother was about 5 years older and he was getting into it with his friends, and like I wanted to do what he was doing. Anyway, they eventually stopped playing. I kept playing. But as time went on, I ended up getting perm banned on my main that I'd had for so long because I'll never forget. I was in Lumbridge chatting with one of my friends, and they used to say this like tip of the day, like this message when you log in. Item scamming is fake. Watch out for these people or whatever. And like everybody saw that. So I was joking around with my friend, hey, I'll trim your bandos. And then I got permanently banned for item scamming. And I never even traded a single person.
Was that like the turning point?
Kinda, yeah. So from there, you know, investing so much time, having the same account since I was, I mean, I guess with the RS Classic Switch, who knows, but maybe 6 or 7. And at that point, I just felt really let down. And truthfully, I had done bannable offenses previously. I had that one Scar, was it? The like orange...
Yes. Yeah, Scar, the early botting tool.
See, those days are so long, so my memory's a little spotty there, but I had gotten banned for short amounts of time for stuff like that, like macroing miner or whatever, but my final permanent ban came from something that, like, truthfully, had anybody been there, they'd be like, well, this is ridiculous. I kind of had it coming with my prior offense. But at that point, losing the main, losing all the progress, I'm not trying to invest that time again. And so I just bought basically all of my accounts from here on out. And it was around 7th grade where I had really gotten into botting. 8th grade came around, I really got into botting. I was making a lot of money on the game. And then my dad, he had like some old parts laying around. So he had like old graphics cards, old RAM. So I basically compiled everything I could, and I had 17 of these really shitty 15-inch Dell monitors connected to a few different PCs, and then a couple other computers, but they were mostly all really like bad computers, and I would run bot on them, doing like a few different bots, and I wanted to see like how much money I could make because I thought about starting like a gold farming service. So I registered the domain rsmillions.com and started building an HTML site, but I had no fucking clue what I was doing. So I asked my friend that we like played RuneScape together, his older brother that I was also friends with, was like a software developer in the same high school I was going to go to, because it was like the summer going into freshman year now. And he ends up building my site. At the time, like, obviously it's like super archaic looking now, but at the time I'm like, damn, this looks sick. The site was ready. I had set it up with PayPal. I had this live chat software. It was like you had Live Person and all these other ones that I couldn't afford because I'm like funding this shit with like my birthday money. So it was the only free live chat software I could find. And of course there were watermarks all over the place, but I didn't care. At that point, I could be mistaken, but I think I want to say it was something ridiculous. Like I sold my Legos. Like I had a ridiculous Lego collection and I sold them all for like $865, something like that. And then my friend that helped me with my site told me a little bit about building a computer, encouraged I did it. And then I went to Newegg, learned all about it, built my own computer, then like aggressively overclocked it. And I was like, all right, this is going to scale my business from nothing to maybe this could be something. Without any lag whatsoever, I could run about 40 to 50 bots. So between all of the computers together, I could run about 70. So I had about 70 bots running every day, 24 hours a day, no breaks whatsoever. And then I set up like 20 of these accounts at GE and had them all doing auto typers promoting my website. And of course you have to like type it differently because they wouldn't allow you to say .com. So I had all these bots running in GE, and then my other bots, basically some had done pure S and like were 90 mining, you know, just from pure essence. I had some killing green drags, and I had a couple like main accounts doing the implings, the like 2 mil an hour ones at the time. I can't remember what it was. So yeah, it was just all the bots were doing a variety of different things, law running, whatever, any bot that I could get for free, and then some of the paid scripts from like PowerBot. And I did this for a while, I wouldn't say a while, but this is how it went on for a while. It was all of these accounts, 50 accounts running all the time, and they were almost never getting banned, honestly, almost never. So this part I think is kind of neat. So here I am, like I'm in high school, but I would be in class on, it was either my Android phone or my iPhone at the time, using TeamViewer, doing a VNC connection to all of my bots to make sure they were running properly. So I'd be literally in the middle of fucking like history class, and I would log in if an account had like logged out or something, or they had to do an update. I'd log into all those accounts. So like at lunchtime, that was my time to just get all of those accounts going.
So the interesting thing here is that this highlights the real battle Jagex was having with botters pre-2011. That is, here's Alex, at the time he's 13 years old, and he's running a bot farm with 70 accounts with software he downloaded for free on the internet. If we look at footage from the game back in this era, we can see the game is completely flooded with bots, and that's the real problem that real-world trade ends up causing. I want to do a whole video discussing the factors of why it's damaging to RuneScape, but this is one of the reasons. Anyways, things got so bad with bots that Jagex decided as a way to combat them, they would completely remove free trade from the game. The idea was that if players can no longer trade amongst each other, they would no longer be able to buy gold from secondary markets, which would stop all the destructive activities that those services were perpetuating within the game. In hindsight, this update was a huge mistake. Number one, Jagex lost many of their players. People didn't want to play on a game where they could no longer freely trade. And number two, let's keep listening to Alex to understand how these gold sellers beat this update.
So I'm not some RS villain. I was just a kid. I thought, to me, that was being an entrepreneur at the time. I was thinking outside the box. And so something happened with my motherboard, and I had to get a return. And my dumbass, like not properly doing all my PayPal fee calculations, I was making a lot less than I would have liked. And I wanted to get my name out there, so I was offering prices cheaper than a lot of people. I was charging like 49 cents a mil, which is common now, but at the day, everyone else was charging like $1.29. So it was really easy to get customers. But then I think it's during when my computer's getting fixed, I think it's during that process that free trade hits. And that kind of makes me like really demotivated, because at this point, it's like, all right, how do I recover from this? And so power leveling is how I did most of it. And then I just did my gold where I'd have to make the gold on their account, which I think is what the competitors were doing too.
So Alex botting directly on the customer's account was not an uncommon practice after the removal of free trade. It meant the update was only halfway successful. Sure, it removed the bulk of the bots, but it also removed the bulk of the legitimate player base. They hadn't tackled the real issue of being able to accurately detect bots and ban them within a reasonable amount of time. They're still not perfect at that, but it's gotten much better, especially in recent years. Anyways, having iterated, got his motherboard fixed, what was the ultimate demise of Alex's operation?
The ultimate demise of the whole situation, I get an email and it's supposedly from Jagex, and it's basically a cease and desist. It says you aren't being sued, but can discontinue all operations if they continue. Legal action may be taken. And until 6 months ago, I always thought that was legit. The email with that GoDaddy account is expired, so everything I have in there, I can't find. I still have the old PayPal from it, so there's some bits and pieces of things I can find, but that specific email I can't. And I remember searching that because I was like, I wonder if anybody else got an email like that so I could find what that looked like. And I didn't find anything, but I did see some people on forums saying that wouldn't be legit. I really have no way of knowing because I can't go back and look at it. But all of my life, I thought that was legit. Maybe they emailed me a link and it was something on their website. That I can't remember. But I do remember getting some sort of email from Jagex, but looking back, maybe, I don't know. I don't know if there's something that I don't.
Yeah, there's no way to really confirm, but I know during that time that they did take down a really large botting website. Yeah, so I wouldn't be too surprised if they actually did send out a bunch of cease and desist letters to all the gold selling websites, but whether they would actually end up pursuing that legally, probably not. I mean, it's pretty easy for them to shoot out an email, especially when they're trying to actually crack down on it. So that was the end of Alex Hager's gold farm on Runescape, but I hope it gave you some insight into how things used to be. It's really interesting to look at how things have changed since then. As Jagex has now gotten better at banning bots, more and more of the real-world trade market is funded by account hacking, phishing, luring, and of course the two big ones, third-party gambling websites and the duel arena. Those last two are really like a circle. On top of that, we only briefly mentioned it, but Alex was into power leveling too. And back then it was done by bots, but nowadays it's done by real people in places like Venezuela where a dollar goes a lot further. Anyways, a big thank you to Alex Hager for talking to me about his experience. I'll link his stuff in the description below. He didn't ask for a plug, but I want to give one to be nice. If you're into fitness, maybe you're looking for a fitness program, you can find all his links in the description. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.